So Rey went from a nobody to a Palpatine to a Skywalker? Give me a break. Well, it's time to wrap up the sequel trilogy with The Rise of Skywalker, and unfortunately, this movie is bad. This movie will always be remembered for what it could have been with Colin Trevorrow's version that was going to be the Duel of the Fates. I don't know. Colin Trevorrow kind of rubbed me the wrong way when he initially got the job because he did Jurassic World, a movie that I liked at the finale. But man, there was a lot of horrible acting in that movie. And keep in mind, they had some top notch actors in that movie. So when they got in Colin Trevorrow and they fired him, I was like, yeah, fire that guy. And then they brought in J.J. Abrams. I'm like, okay, that was a little bit different. There was a side of me that kind of wished Jon Favreau directed, but of course he was too busy with The Mandalorian up to this point. And by this point, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order had come out, and of course The Mandalorian, like I said. And everybody's like, okay, you know what? Star Wars is picking up back again. And it seems to be a trend with movies where the movie's not as good, but then everything else around it is better, like series and video games. But when you get to the actual movies, it's just like, what is this? And this was the epitome of it. Even the diehard Star Wars fans hated this movie. And why is that? Well, first of all, look at the name. The Rise of Skywalker. That name makes no sense. Up to this point, Luke had died, Han Solo's died. There was no redeeming quality about Kylo Ren. And the actress Carrie Fisher, who plays Leia, had unfortunately passed. So I'm just like, what about this is The Rise of Skywalker? Duel of the Fates, okay, it was too much of a nostalgia name because of the name being connected to that song in episode 1. But it would have been better than The Rise of Skywalker, I'll give you that. There was a side of me that kind of wish it was called The Fate of the Resistance because this really was the end of the Resistance. There was only a few of them left, so this could have been like the finale, and it could have been one of the greatest finales of all time, but unfortunately, too many conflicts with Kathleen Kennedy. That bitch got to make up her mind. Like, I am so glad that she got canceled. Screw her, and, I hope, even though she's getting paid bank, we can all agree that she is just horrible with ideas. You should just stick to producing. Kind of like what Ice Cube said to Dr. Dre, no Vaseline. Hey, cat, stick to producing, you know? But anyways, um, this movie started with a horrible crawl saying that the dead speaks, and apparently Palpatine is back, but they never really explained how. And this was the biggest red flag of all. Palpatine comes back after that triumphant death in Return of the Jedi. They bring him back. Why? Because I didn't like it. It was very stupid of their part because it just felt like a desperate attempt because Snoke was killed off. Apparently, Snoke was just some random clone to Palpatine just to get to Kylo Ren and then open the door for him. Then there was this guy working with um, the First Order, and apparently he was working with Emperor Palpatine behind the scenes this whole time. They completely screwed over Hux. He was gonna have a bigger role, but then they just made him a spy. He just said like, I don't care who loses, who wins, as long as Kylo Ren loses, and then he just gets killed off easily. It was so stupid. I don't know. He just made that twist made no sense of him just turning to the good side just because he hates Kylo Ren. I mean, it does make sense that he hates Kylo Ren, but in the end of The Last Jedi, it looks like Poe and Rey were gonna have a nice relationship, and then they end up always bickering in this one. With the lightsaber duel, like when Rey has the lightsaber as a light, and then he has his own flashlight. I don't know. The chemistry with these characters just started really dying off. Apparently, Finn was supposed to have a love story with Rey. He was like, Rey, there's something I gotta tell you if we die. Nothing. Nothing comes about it. Rose gets pushed to the side. They just completely buried Rose um, from this. Um, Now, are there some redeeming qualities to this? Yeah, there was a couple. A couple stand out. C-3PO was very charming in this. And, I believe the actor had passed and then they wanted to do something nice to him. Like, that line of him saying, like, I just want to take one last good look at my friends. I kind of wish, you know, Leia was there or Chewie, someone that is generally C-3PO's friends. The way they be treating this guy, they call him annoying, they call him stupid. Like, they treat him like crap in this entire movie. And then he gives this message because he can't translate. But then he sends this message, and then in the process, they retcon him by bringing his memory back later on. It was just like so stupid, and it was just like, what was the point of that? Apparently, Poe was supposed to have this love interest with Zori, played by Kerry Russell, and it just didn't fit. I mean, I guess they knew each other from a long time ago, but it just was whatever. One of the best new characters was Noemi Aki's character, who played Jackie. She was also a stormtrooper at one point, but left. Finn could have had a great story arc with her, but they just never crossed it. But it really does show that they buried John Boyega and they basically wasted him. This like at least in the Last Jedi, he could have had a great sacrifice. Here, they just pushed him to the side. They treated John Boyega like crap here, and that's also the thing. I think deep down everybody was upset because Duel of the Fates had potential being a better transition. There was gonna be cooler moments. Apparently, Rey was gonna have a double-sided lightsaber. There was no Palpatine, so there was no redeeming quality to Kylo Ren, which is kind of what we needed. But they could have fully developed how Kylo Ren and Rey are constantly connected. Then by the end of it, they just retcon it. Apparently, Rey has lightning powers. They tease you with, oh, she accidentally killed Chewie, and if she accidentally killed Chewie, then there was no redeeming quality to Rey, and they would have hated it, even if it was an accident. Um, but then they go and tell you, oh, you're Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter. So they went from, oh, her parents are a bunch of drunks to that abandoned her to, oh, you're a Palpatine. It was so stupid. And then Rey's supposed to just like accept it. And then when they fight off Palpatine. So apparently at one point between Return of the Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine got laid, had a baby, and then that baby got older and Rey was created. So like it just it was so stupid. Everybody was like, "What?" In the theaters, I remember I was like, "What?" I think what fooled you into thinking this was a great movie, including myself, was that there was a lot of cool lightsaber duels between Kylo Ren and Rey. There was a lot of cool fights with ships and stuff. Lando's charm was there, even though Lando's way much older. Like it was still cool to see him in this, even though it was very forced down our throats. There was a lot of cool stuff that looked epic. Even the final battle, as much as it didn't make sense, it looked epic. Han Solo coming back and basically having a one-on-one with Kylo Ren and just slowly redeem him, even though after the death of Leia, unfortunately. But that scene with Han Solo and Kylo Ren talking, basically like, oh, I forgive you, son, or something like that. And then Rey and Ben Solo now fighting off the Knights of Ren, taking down Palpatine together. In the process, Rey dies, but then Ren gives Rey like powers, something. I don't know, you could do that with the Force. It was kind of ridiculous because if you could do that, you can fix wounds. Like, I don't know, they did the Force dirty. And then at the end, they just kiss. It was so stupid. And then Kylo Ren dies, and then Rey is alive. Even I feel like Luke Skywalker in this movie. What are you doing? Because like Luke, you could tell Mark Hamill was over it at this point. He was just like, all right, I'm still getting paid. I already promised myself to do episode 9, but man, nobody here cares, and it's unfortunate because this could have hands down been one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I don't think it would have been better than the original trilogy. You're not gonna top it. But the prequel trilogy got better because of it, because at least that was one man's vision. Here it looks like it was just too many chefs in the kitchen. Went from Colin Trevorrow to in Kathleen Kennedy's fingerprints. J.J. Abrams came back, didn't know what to do. Rian Johnson, who thinks he's so much smarter than everybody, just does all this jitter jatter. Luckily, he picked up his career with Knives Out. At least the first one. The last two were kind of boring. But I just wasn't happy with the Rise of Skywalker and what it did. There was another really cool moment, the last good moment that I like, and that is that Chewbacca finally got his Medal of Honor. That was a finally one thing that they got right. Um, Overall, it was just like, okay, let's just put stuff together. Let's bring Palpatine because we're desperate. Let's just see what Kathleen Kennedy wants. It almost felt like a middle finger to Kathleen Kennedy from everybody. It was just like, all right. And in the process, we all suffer. And just to nail it in the coffin. Now, I was cool with Rey getting a yellow lightsaber. That was different. And then, but her putting the lightsabers away, burying them, and then they ask her, who are you? She goes, I'm Rey Skywalker, was BS, and I hated it. It was definitely the worst ending to any of the movies, if I'm being honest. And I was thoroughly disappointed with this. I mean, when I watched it the first time in theaters, I went with some friends and we had a good time. But then as we analyzed it, we were like, this movie was kind of terribly written. And because of it, I'm giving this a D minus. The only thing stopping it from an F is because they did do some stuff correctly with some of the characters that we know and love today. But yeah, this is the worst Star Wars movie, worse than Solo for me. I never thought I'd say that, but yeah, that's what happened. Unfortunately, yeah, I was very disappointed, and I truly wish that um, Star Wars can pick themselves up, and it seems like they are going the right way with now that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are basically taking over. So I'm excited to talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu tomorrow, the last one. Full spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't seen it last week. But ready to wrap up Star Wars month. This was a lot of fun, but I'll see you tomorrow with one final video. Take care, everybody.